Welcome back to CNN's special live coverage of Donald Trump's historic first criminal trial. Moments ago, a new witness was called to the stand, Gary Farrow. Paula Reed is with us. Paula, Gary Farrow, not exactly a household name.
Not even a name to those known very well to those of us who are covering this. So prosecutors clearly using the last hour, maybe on a Friday before a 3-day break, just to bring in some witnesses who can likely help them introduce some exhibits, right? Verify some documents. Because at the core of this is a paperwork case, right? Allegations, 34 counts of falsifying business records. So there's a few things. We're still waiting. We're getting these great updates from our colleagues in the courtroom. There's a few different things he could be testifying about. He could be testifying about payments made to Stormy Daniels. We also know that Michael Cohen, he had to borrow against his home to pay Stormy Daniels. So that could also be why he has been called to the stand. But we expect this to be a pretty quick appearance by this witness, Mr. Farrow, to likely just help them bring in some documents that they're going to need over the next few weeks.
Yeah, again, a Friday afternoon, not much time to go before court is set to wrap for the day. It's going to be a long weekend for these jurors. You don't want to use an impactful witness right now. Paula Reed, thanks so much for the update. Let's discuss the trial more now with Carolyn Koch. She's a trial and jury consultant. Carolyn, thank you so much for being with us. So the first two witnesses have wrapped. Both of them fairly close to Donald Trump. David Pecker, a longtime friend, assisted him with these catch and kill stories at the National Enquirer. Then his longtime assistant, Rona Graff, went up second. And now third, we're hearing from this bank employee. What do you think of the sequence of witnesses that the prosecution has called?
Well, you know, I never really know what other people's strategy is. And it could just be what Paula just said. You have to lay the groundwork to get these documents in, and these are the people you have to do it. And I'm just speculating, of course, but I'm thinking maybe the prosecution is concerned that these are witnesses who have longtime positive relationships with Donald Trump. So if you're trying to demonize Donald Trump and make him seem like he's guilty, you might not want to close with witnesses who have a long-term positive relationship. And so, you know, even if you just look at Rona Graff, who worked for him for 34 years, that's almost an unheard of amount of loyalty that one person can give to another. If you think about most marriages, that's a really long time. And so they might be worried that her positive feelings for Trump are going to eke out. And they might want jurors to forget about that by the time it's the jury's turn to deliberate.
That is fascinating perspective. I am curious about one part of her testimony. She was asked point blank, "You don't want to be here on the witness stand, do you?" And she said no. Prosecutors essentially had to compel her testimony. How do you think a jury perceives that?
Well, I mean, most people don't. I think probably the jurors don't want to be there either, possibly. They probably got over that. And most witnesses are subpoenaed. I think jurors just understand. Jurors are the common sense experts, so they probably understand how awkward it would be if you have a 34-year relationship and this person's your boss, and now you're subpoenaed and you're supposed to be, quote unquote, you know, helping in his prosecution. That's just an awkward position to be in. But the jurors are going to, you know, jurors are so good at reading between the lines and focusing on, is this person telling the truth, and what part of their testimony do I need to rely on to come to a decision? So ultimately, I don't think it'll really sway people one way or another.
Yeah, it's...
Carolyn Koch, thank you so much for the perspective. Appreciate you being with us.
You're welcome.
Of course, our special coverage of Donald Trump's hush money trial continues in just a moment.